guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be talking all about blending. As you can see, my face is completely done for the most part. I have on my foundation, concealer, brows. You can see what's going on as of right now. So we're gonna be focusing primarily just on the eyeshadow today. This video has been so requested to the point that people have actually been like a little sassy, even like bordering mean about me filming this recently. Every time I post a picture, people are like, where the hell is the blending video? So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I'm super excited to be doing this. If you guys are not familiar with me and my channel and you're wondering who this girl is, my name is Jaclyn. I started working at MAC Cosmetics when I was 18 years old. I worked there for 4 years. I am a self-taught makeup artist who is now just a YouTuber. And that's it. And I have picked up a lot of tips and tricks by myself, just learning, playing with makeup, working on clients. I used to do a lot of freelancing, work on a lot of brides, which was a whole different world of makeup, honestly. So I've learned a lot about blending. Now I definitely think that I have room to improve. There's people out there that I look at and I admire so much. I'll also link people down below that inspire me, and I think that their blending techniques are just out of this world. But I'm gonna be sharing with you guys today just techniques, and that's why we're just gonna be focusing on the eyes and nothing else, because I really wanna go in depth just on the eyeshadow, how you guys can smoke it out, blow it out, and just make it look beautiful. So let's get started. All right, class is in session. So the first step in blending your eyeshadow, making sure that everything looks flawless, you can't rush yourself and start thinking about the end result. You have to start off slow. And number one, you have to prime your eyes. I personally do not like using a sticky base. I think if you go in with like a concealer and you don't set it and you move along, it's very difficult to blend. It's kind of the same as your face. If you go in with foundation and concealer and then grab a powder bronzer or contour, it's gonna end up patchy and it's gonna be extremely difficult to work with. So I personally like to use concealer to set my eyes, and then I go over it with a translucent powder. I will either use a brush or I will use a beauty sponge. Typically I use a beauty sponge. Sorry, this is so dirty. I just got done with my makeup, and I will just lightly set the eye. You do wanna be careful though, because if you put too much product on your eye over like a tacky concealer or primer, now you're gonna have like the reverse effect, and other powders aren't gonna wanna stick because you have too much powder. I know it's like kind of tricky, but just a light layer of powder is all you need, and you should be able to touch your eye and kind of gently rub it and feel no tackiness whatsoever, but you shouldn't have any excess powder like flaking off into the air. And number two thing that I would suggest is to get yourself some really good brushes. And when I say good, I'm not necessarily saying expensive. Where we are at in cosmetics is really amazing because we now have so many options for so many different brands and brushes. I cannot believe how many brush options there are. Like when I first started makeup as a teenager, MAC brushes were really the only brushes that people talked about. It was either that or it was like these crazy high-end brush sets that were like $300 for like 6 brushes, you know? So like MAC was like the only thing, and they had like maybe 50 brushes to choose from, you know? Now there's thousands and thousands of brushes out there, and there's so many affordable ones as well. So get yourself a few good blending brushes that you feel really comfortable using, that aren't gonna be scratchy or too like dry on your skin, that's not gonna shed super bad. I of course have my collection of brushes that I created that I love, but you do not need to use the brushes that I created or the brushes that I use. Anything that works for you, that's what I would suggest. And of course, as we're going throughout the video today, I will tell you the brushes that I am using. So if you are curious for the exact brush, I will list every brush and every single product that I use in the description box. If you guys really just like wanna dive in and know every single specific detail, I will list that for you. All right, so now I'm going to actually begin to apply eyeshadow. So now I'm going to begin to actually apply eyeshadow to my eyes. And the first thing that I always do, of course, after I just said we already set the eyes, we prime the eyes, so it's good to go, I always go in with a transition shade. It does not matter if we're gonna work with colorful eyeshadows or more neutral eyeshadows, a transition shade is always necessary because it's gonna begin the entire process of blending. So I'm gonna grab my palette right here. I'm gonna go in with the third shade. This is called Silk Cream, and it's just a little bit darker than my skin tone. It's totally matte. I don't wanna go in with anything shimmery, because going in with shimmery is just going to, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just not gonna look good in the end. So I always go in with a matte first, and that's what I suggest for everybody. You're gonna wanna go in to the transition area in the crease. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that is the space right here between the actual lid. When you open your lid, you have that crease, and then your brow bone right here. So here and here. So transition is gonna be right here in this area. Now, when you apply your eyeshadow, I always suggest kind of raising your brows as much as you can, closing one eye, and then going in like that. And the reason being is if you do your makeup like this, we all have little crinkles in our eyes, little lines. And then when you like actually go live your life and you like, oh my gosh, you look surprised, you're not gonna have little lines in your eyeshadow. So keeping your brows raised up like this and going in right there in the transition area. And we're just gonna start blending back and forth in windshield wiper motions. As you can see, I always start literally going like a windshield wiper, and then I'll start to go like this and do circular motions as well. And I have not picked up any additional product. And then I'm gonna start to go up a little bit towards the brow, because now we're losing some of that product on our brush, which is a good thing, and that's how blending works. Because you don't wanna keep going back in and grabbing more too soon, because now you're not gonna have a really beautiful blend and a nice fade. So you wanna initially go in with that like intense amount and then lightly blend it out as you go. And we're basically gonna do that with every single product that we pick up. And the brush that I am using, this is the JH32. This is from the collection that I developed from Morphe. And this is usually always the very first brush that I always go in with, no matter what look I am doing. All right, so now that I have that first base on, you guys saw that I applied a really small amount. I'm gonna go back in with the exact same shade and do exactly what I just did all over again. And every single time that I go in and apply shadow, what I do is I pick it up like this, then I'll take my brush and I'll tap, tap, tap like that, because I don't want too much product, because really all it's gonna do is give us a lot of fallout, and it's not even gonna really stick to the lid. So I always tap off the excess, and then I just do the exact same thing over again. And now at this point, because I wanna deepen up just that transition area, I will go back, grab a little bit more, tap a little bit, put it back in there again, and then I'll do it one more time as well. This time I'm not gonna tap the excess off. I'm just gonna tap it right like that. Now I'm gonna tap. And now I will just go back and blend upward towards the brow. Now, depending what shape you're gonna do with your eye look, if you wanna like bring it out really intense, make it more structured, if you wanna make it more blown out in the inner corner, of course, you're gonna use different techniques, but I'm showing you just kind of like that like average standard technique, if you will. And I'm not gonna bring too much color into the inner corner of my eye. When you do bring color in, what you're gonna do is you're gonna make a more smoldering look, and you're also gonna make your eyes appear closer together. So I generally like to keep the inner corner a little bit brighter and lighter and keep the darkness out here to create kind of like that more cat eye effect, as opposed to pulling my eyes in. All right, so now that we have that base on, as you can see, it's super light, it's very natural. Like I could just wear this out of the house and be done like that, but this is just gonna be our base and our transition shade, and now I can go in with any color I want. Like at this point, if I wanted to do a red smoky eye, an orange smoky eye, if I wanted to do purple, I could still continue to build all of that off of this. This is honestly just kind of mimicking like the contours of my face and my skin tone, just so that anything that we do going forward, it's just gonna look a little bit more better and more natural, that's all. So now I'm gonna show you guys how we're gonna build off of this and make it deeper. I haven't mentioned this already, but I will now. Today's video is not really about the look. I'm sure the look at the end of this is gonna be something that you guys have seen me do a million times. You've seen a million people do it a million times. This is more just about like the in-depth, real-time blending and how I actually do things, as opposed to the actual makeup look. So you guys are gonna see me use all the same products you guys have seen me use many times before. So now I'm gonna go in with the shade PUKEY right here. For my skin tone, I love to use a shade to darken up my crease, and this is like one of my favorite shades to go in with secondly. So again, I'm swirling that in the pan, and then I'm like, I'll tap it honestly like on my mirror or on my table, just like a little tap just to get off the excess, because again, it's just gonna give you fallout, which isn't a big deal if you do get fallout. I always keep a brush sitting next to me like this guy right here, because you just whoop, swipe it right off the face, but I just always tap because I think that it looks prettier. So I'm gonna take this right there in that transition area again. I lift up my brow and I get there kind of nice and tight, because now I wanna make sure that I get this like in the actual, on the actual lid in the outer corner of my eye. And now I'm just gonna go in like tighter little circular blending motions. And I'm gonna go back in, grab more of that product, tap off again, and then just repeat that step right there. And then just like the first shade, once that product begins to leave the brush, I'll start going upward ever so slightly. And if I feel like there's too much product on the brush, this is the trick. I always, 24/7, every time I do my makeup, have a paper towel sitting right in front of me underneath my mirror, and I will take my brush and just go like that. I don't necessarily need to do it right now. You can see barely anything came off. But if I feel like I have too much product on my brush, that's what I'll do, because it works a lot better than actually tapping. And then I'm able to really do what I want to achieve after that, and then get up in there and just drag that up. And it kind of feels weird to drag it all the way to your brow sometimes, but at this point, we basically have nothing on this whatsoever. So I will take it up and allow it to basically touch my brow, just for the purpose of blending that out and making sure that we don't have, any harsh lines. I swear I'm gonna write a book one day no harsh lines. After that, as you can see, I basically have no fallout, but this is still just out of habit. But I realized that creating this habit has definitely made a difference. And I always take a brush and just go like this afterwards, just in case there's fallout there that I don't necessarily see. And I know that sounds crazy, but it happens because you're working with like neutral tones and browns that are kind of similar to the skin tone, and you won't really realize, but then when you're done, you're like, why do I have a shadow underneath my eye? And it can make you look tired and just like kind of sloppy and messy. So I just continuously make sure that with a brush that doesn't have any other colors on it, you know, hasn't been dipped in anything, I go like this after every single time I apply a new color, and that way when I'm done, everything just looks clean and we don't have any issues with fallout. All right, so now I'm going to take the Ring the Alarm palette. This is one of my favorite go-to palettes for neutrals. I still have this lash there. I'll take it off. In my last video, I had so many people talking about it. I actually find those pieces of lashes all over my house. They like to stick to my robes, my socks, and especially my dogs. I find lashes in my dog's fur every week, at least once or twice a week. They're just everywhere because I'm always cutting them off. It's funny that people call it out because I don't even notice them anymore. So I'm gonna go in with the shade Rush right here, which is a matte orangey shade. It's not super intensely orange, but it is a light orange. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab that. And I'm gonna change my brush now. And now I'm grabbing the brush JH31. Again, this is from my collection. So for this shade, I'm going to take this and put it right here, again, in that transition shade, but I'm keeping it way more in the upper area. Of course, you can put this all over your lid, you can put it lower, you can do whatever you want. This is just preference and what I want this look to be. But I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna just nicely run it in that upper crease, because I do want this to be warmer. And then on top of that, I'll put like a nice like yellowy shade that'll help like really blend this out and make it look really like airbrushed and flawless. But what I'm doing with this is literally going back and forth in windshield wiper motions. And then when I get to the inner corner, I will raise up my brow because I don't want that shade to get too close to the inner brow. Because if that starts touching my brow, now we're gonna start looking a little bit more runway and smoldering, and I don't want that for my look today. So raising up the brow will keep us nice and low in that area, and then going outward. And as you can see, it's just windshield wiper constantly. And then out here, I start to go in little circular motions, not too wide, because we don't wanna make this too blown out or bring it down too low. That's another thing that I always use this brush for, to wipe away, because I don't want my shadow to start coming down too low in this outer corner, because now we're gonna have like droopy sad eyes. And we want this to always kind of be lifting us up and making us look awake. That's the power of makeup, right? You don't wanna look sad, you wanna look glad. Now I'm going to grab the Armed and Gorgeous palette, and I'm gonna go in with the shade Access right here, which is a really beautiful yellowy matte. It does have a little bit of an orange undertone. You can go in with like a bright yellow right now, which also would be beautiful, but I just want something that has a yellow undertone. And now I'm picking up the brush. This is the JH35 right here. This is a brand new fresh one. And you can see I barely have anything on that brush because I tapped off the excess, and that's how I'm gonna start, going in super light. And I am just going to lightly dust that basically right above the orangey shade that we just put on before. But I don't want to touch my brow because then we're gonna get like a little carried away with ourselves. We don't want it to actually get all the way up there. I'm gonna tap it off again because I feel like there's still a little too much on there. And I am just like so lightly touching my skin right now. I don't know if the camera can really pick up that I am like just feathering this along the outer skirts of what I just did. And now with this shade, because it is so light and we barely have anything on the brush, I will just lightly kind of feather this out, almost like past the brow. Now you're barely gonna see that in the end look, but again, this is just one of those steps that will help with the blending process and make everything look really smooth and just airbrushed and really finished when you're done with the look. Okay, so now I'm going to grab a Kylie Jenner brush, and this is the number 12. I have raved about this brush. I think it is so unique. It is so different. Yes, her brushes are expensive. I know when it came out, it caused so much controversy, but this brush is amazing. I have several of them because I think that they're so amazing for blending out your shadow, and I'll show you exactly how I use it. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the shade Creamsicle right here from my palette, tapping off the excess. And because this brush is so flat on the top and it's like nice and puffy, I can get in there and blend so stinking good. And I am like not even lifting this from my skin. Like I'm just keeping it in there, and I'm like using it almost as you would use an eraser on a piece of paper. Like I'm just like smudging it to death, just pushing it around to make sure that we have no harsh lines. So even after a simple step like that, I will still take a brush and wipe away, even though I don't see anything there, just making sure, insurance, that there's nothing underneath my eye. Okay, reassurance, insurance, All right, so now I'm gonna deepen this look up even more. And at this point, I could do one of two things, and this is really just like your preference. I could go in with the shade Mugshot right here, which is just a darker shade than everything else that we have used. This would be our darkest shade so far. We could put this, and then we could go in with like an even darker shade. Or we could go in with this and then blend it out with this. It really is your preference. I'm gonna just say, screw it, let's do it and go in with the darkest shade, because I feel like that's what most people would be afraid to do. So I'm gonna do it to show you how I would do it if that were the step that I were to take, and you don't wanna take like the easy way out, if you know what I mean. All right, so now I'm going to use, again, the JH35. I picked that up, it's a light amount. I'm gonna start by pressing it on the lowest part of my lid, just in the outer corner, right there on the lash line. I tapped off a lot of the excess so that we don't have a lot of fallout. If you don't tap off the excess with any dark brown shade, any dark color, you are going to have fallout. But if you have prepped your skin, you've powdered the under eye area, use translucent powder, any powder, you will be able to easily brush that away. But I like to go in with a little amount at a time. That way we don't have to deal with an insane amount of fallout and clean it up, because it can be a hassle. So I am just stamping that on the outer corner, as you can see, and just lightly bringing it upward. Again, like we're literally just like stamping and just kind of like lightly smudging. Nothing is gonna look too incredible right now, but we're gonna get there by building. And that, in my brain, is the way to blend. That is the secret to all of it, is patience and building. If you can start your makeup by using like an ombre effect of shadows, like let's say you wanna have like a dark chocolatey smoky eye, then you would wanna start with a light brown and then a deeper, all the way to the darkest, all the way to the black. And if you can build that and do a little of each shadow, in the end, you're gonna have just this perfect, just like, ombre effect of shadows that truly looks like smoke. If you go in with just like a dark shade and expect it to blend, you're gonna run into issues. Now, it can be done, but it's not gonna be as easy as doing it this way. But it is time consuming, but it looks great. So I'm just gonna go back and grab a little bit more, stamp that up into the crease area. And now that we are in that crease area, I'm raising the brow up, because again, I don't wanna get it too high, so I'm raising the brow up, and then I will slightly start going windshield wiper motions back and forth. And then once I get over here, I'm kind of stamping again, because I don't want to bring too much shadow in there. And if I were to keep going like this in windshield wiper motions, now I'm gonna bring too much product into the inner corner of the eye, and I don't wanna do that. So I just kind of like stamp, because that's not gonna put as much. And I go back over here, and then I do windshield wipers, and I go upward now that there's not much product left on the brush, just a little bit. Now we're blending it in with those other products that we already had there before that complement the shade. And now that I'm in like truly this transition area, we are like really meshing those shades together. And that's why we lay those down first and foremost, because it makes this process so easy. Like that blend was effortless. Okay, so now that I have that on there, I'm again gonna go back, same process as before, wipe that away, because I actually could, with that shadow, see a little bit out here in the outer corner, and I don't want that. So we're just gonna wipe that away to make sure we don't have anything messy down there. All right, so now I'm going to jump to my lower lash line. And even though I am not done with the upper, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm at a point where I wanna kind of see the look come together. I don't really like doing my entire upper lid and then jumping and just like hoping that the lower lash line looks good with it. I kind of like bouncing back and forth around this time. So I'm going to grab the same shade that I was using just a moment ago, Mugshot, from the Ring the Alarm palette, on a little stiff pencil brush right here. This is the Morphe E18. Tap off the excess, of course. I'm going to start on the outer corner, and I just like kind of look directly in the mirror to make sure that we are exactly where we want to be. And then I literally look up and I don't even look in the mirror anymore, because I can just feel it out. You can hold the mirror way up above your head, like directly above, and watch yourself do it, but I can feel it, honestly. And because I like to blow out my lower lash line, it doesn't really matter if I'm sloppy with this first shade that I'm going in with right now. The only thing that I care about is to make sure that I don't bring it too far right here in the inner corner. Like, I don't want to take that and bring it all the way in and like touch this area, because I want to keep that bright, again, to keep the eyes looking open, woke, awakened, and separated. So I always like to keep darkness from that area. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back with that same Kylie brush in number 12. I'm gonna grab the shade Rush right here from the Ring the Alarm palette. Again, just a little bit amount, tap it off, you know the drill. And this brush on my lower lash line is just like, ever since I discovered this brush, I have not done my makeup the same. I cannot do my makeup without this now, especially my lower lash line, because I love it so much for blending everything out down here. as you guys will see, it just makes it so flawless. So I take it on the outer corner and really make sure to connect my upper with my lower, and that's why I wanna do that now before I darken up the upper lash line or I do anything up on the upper lid. I wanna make sure that I connect my bottom to the top and make sure that that's all blended together, and then I'll really get a feel for where I wanna go with my eye look. Now I'm gonna grab the shade Secret once again. This is that dark chocolatey brown, and I'm gonna use a definer brush. This is the JH43. Any definer brush will do the trick, honestly. They're all pretty similar. That's a lie. Don't listen to me. All right, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it really tight on my lower lashes, like directly on the lashes. And this I look up into the mirror for. It makes it so much easier. If you try to look straight in the mirror while doing this, it's just not gonna work. You get it like all over your skin on your under eye. Just trust me and like put your head down and look up into the mirror like that, and it just goes on so simple, nice and tight on that lower lash line. All right, so now that we have that on our lower lashes, I'm gonna go back in with the shade Mugshot on the same pencil brush that I was using before. And I'm gonna blend that out because you can see that that is a harsh line right now and that's not my vibe. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna go, I know it's like hard to see, but I'm not even going over the whole thing. I'm just going over the outer lower edge of that because I wanna keep it nice and dark right on my lash line, but I want to blend and blow that bitch out. Sounded so dirty, that's what she said. Or he said. Now I'm gonna go back in with the shade Access from the Armed & Gorge the Armed & Gorgeous palette right here. Get a little bit of that on the same Kylie brush that we've been using the whole time. And I'm going to go underneath all of that and just so lightly on the skin, buff that out. Now we're going really low. This is what I consider the Uncle Fester vibe because you're giving yourself like that big dark circle and it feels weird to do it, but it just looks so pretty. And it's like we're creating such a gorgeous ombre effect under the eye from dark to like that chocolate brown, and then it goes down to like that yellowy. It's like fire. I love it so much. That's why I do this technique all the time. I think it opens up the eyes. It brings so much attention to the face, so much attention to the eye color. And then as that color is leaving the brush, I'm just like slightly and lightly moving downward onto the face really lightly. All right, so at this point, honestly, I could throw on a shimmer eyeshadow on my upper lid. I could just throw on lashes and call it a day, but I am going to darken my situation up there to make it a little bit smokier, mainly for the purpose of the video. Why not? And then I'll throw on some lashes, or maybe I'll throw on some shimmer. We'll see what happens. But I'm just gonna go back in with the exact same shade that I'm using the entire time, which is Secret right here. And all I'm gonna do is just darken that up and show you how I would do that. So now, again, with the JH35, we are going to tap that on the outer corner. And it becomes even easier because now we have that base of where that chocolate brown is. So we basically are just gonna do the exact same thing and follow the steps that we already previously did and just deepen it up. So we're just patting it on the outer corner. And then once we get to the crease, we're going to just, I'm gonna tap off the excess because I basically don't want anything. It looks like there's a lot of product on my brush right now, but there really isn't that much because I've tapped off all the excess that's on it. So it's not gonna have any fallout at this point. It's gonna just be great for blending. So now we are lightly going back and forth, and where you hold your brush in your hand and how much pressure you put on your skin is gonna make such a difference in blending. So if I'm holding tighter like this, we're gonna have a way harsher line and we're gonna get way more product. And you're holding it down like this, you're not gonna have as much control, but you are going to barely be feathering your skin. So I like to hold it right here like this in between spot because I feel like I have a lot of control and I can really tell how much product I'm dispersing on the skin and it really easily blend. So windshield wiper motions into that color that we already had. And you can see right here, you can see on camera, there's like a little choppiness right here. And because I noticed that, I'm a perfectionist, I'm gonna take this brush and just really sit on that. And we're just kind of playing with it to make it blend out, as you can see. You can see in real time how long that takes to do that. And then since I did that, a little bit of that shadow got right there underneath. So we'll go back with that same brush before, the Kylie number 12, and that same shade that we had from the Armed & Gorgeous palette. And we'll just lightly, again, lightly buff over that. We don't need too much pressure. If you do need more pressure, you can go ahead and go back, pick up a little bit more and go back and add that. But we always wanna start off with really light, delicate pressure, especially when working around the eye area. And for the sake of the video, I'm gonna just throw a shimmer all over my lid. I typically love a matte eye. I do like shimmers. I like shimmers that are really glittery recently, like really glittery glitter shimmers. I need to go back to school so hard. Okay, I'm gonna go with the shade Boom. Right here is this really beautiful kind of red coppery shimmer shade from Ring the Alarm. I'm going in with a JH41. It is just a flat little eyeshadow brush right there. And I'm going to pick that shade up and then I'm going to spritz my brush with some MAC Fix Plus. I do this no matter what shimmer I use. It doesn't matter what brand, who it is. I always spritz my brush because it makes it so much easier to apply. You don't get really any fallout, maybe sometimes, but you don't get much and it just makes it so much more intense. So I'm gonna start in the inner corner. And I am just going to pat that all over the lid. Once I get over to this area, a lot of times what I will do is I will grab that product on my finger, which is kind of hard to do with my long nails, but I still make it work. And I kind of tap it with my finger in the center of my eye. I don't know why I really like the way this will look compared to a brush. When I want to mesh a shimmer and a matte together, I just think that it looks really effortless doing it like this. And again, we are just tapping. It's like pressing it onto the lid. After putting that shimmer on, I realized it's just not my vibe. This actually has nothing to do with the video, but I'm gonna go in with On Camera, which is the gold shade in the same palette. I'm gonna just like layer that over top to kind of make this a little bit more what I have envisioned for today. So now that I have on the gold over top, I just think that that's like way more, that was what I was going for today. That was just like my vibe, you know? At this point, I will kind of look over everything and just kind of like take a step back. I have a mirror that's a magnifying mirror and also a regular mirror, so I'll flip it over. I'll push it kind of further away from me, just kind of like get my perspective. And a lot of times, honestly, at this point, I'll look and I'll be like, oh wow, like this over here doesn't look right, this doesn't look right. And then that's when I'll go back and I'll like do my final touches. Sometimes I'll be like, this eye is darker, this one needs more blending, and I'll do all those sorts of things. I don't really see much right now. This outer corner right here could use a little work just by me kind of smudging this around a little bit. Maybe a little bit of blending right here. And I'm currently just using one of my brushes. This is the JH35. Once again, it has basically nothing on it, just a little bit of that yellow shade from earlier. And I'm just going over everything to make sure that there's no harsh lines before we go in with liner, lashes, mascara, all that stuff. If I wanted to at this time deepen up that outer crease even more, even though I put the shimmer on, I totally could. That would not be an issue. You just put it on and once again do the exact same steps. Pat it, go up into the crease, darken it, bring it over a little bit, and you're good to go. If you start covering up a lot of the shimmer, again, you can go back with a brush or your finger, tap the shimmer over it. Again, good to go. So this is the step that I usually do pretty much last. I will go in and highlight my brow bone. I'm gonna take the very first shade in my palette. This is called ENLIGHT. Sometimes I mix them together, use one or the other, whatever I'm in the mood for. The second one is a little bit frostier and a little bit more of a yellow undertone. Depending if I'm like really fair or have a really strong tan, I'll kind of go back and forth between the both of them. Today I'll just grab the first. I'm gonna go in with this is a MAC 242 brush right here. What I love about highlighting is obviously the way it looks in the end. I think it just pulls it together and makes you look like that like MAC girl, if you will. I don't know, growing up, I always like walked by the MAC counters and was like, oh, I wanna look like a MAC girl one day. Like they have such highlighted brow bones. I don't know, that was just like my own little thing. But it's also great because if you made a mistake up here in this area and it's not blending very well, you can really fix that with your brow bone highlight by just going in there and kind of blending out with a shimmer. So I'm gonna touch it really, really lightly, just directly underneath the brow. I'm gonna continuously go back and pick up a little bit more, because I do not want to like overly highlight and then be like, oh gosh, that's too much, you know? Bringing it down here. So for instance, if we had like choppiness happening in here, at this point, I would grab my highlight, I just kind of turn my brush sideways and just kind of like go like, and blend out that choppiness up there by the brow, which I do not have today, but still it's just a little tip because it does happen to everyone at some point. And another reason why I do this step now and not after my mascara or lashes is because this highlight is always gonna fall down on the lash area and it'll get stuck in your mascara and your fake lashes and it's just an annoyance. So I always try to remember to do it before those steps. Now I'm gonna use that exact same highlight on the inner corner of my eye. This is a Morphe Y22 and I'm just going to press that right there. And then once there's not as much product on the brush, I will just kind of lightly bring it outward like so, just to give like a nice inner corner highlight with a halo effect. So now I'm going to toss on some lashes. I'm gonna put mascara on, and then I'm gonna put on some false lashes, and I will be right back. All right, and there we have it. This is the completed look with lashes, bottom mascara. I also added a little white eyeliner in my lower waterline. I would like to perfect my face a little bit, but I'm not going to because this video is definitely not about that. It's about the eyes. I will say that lashes are a really, really, really great trick. If for some reason you feel like you don't have time to perfectly blend out your eyeshadow, or you're just like, I wanna look glam, but I'm just not in it right now, or I don't feel good, or whatever it is, throw on some amazing lashes that like you know and love and trust, and it's such a great way to make yourself look so glam and not have to worry about perfecting your eye makeup, you know? So it's a little trick. But that is it, you guys. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned a little something from all of like the tips and tricks that I have for you guys that I have picked up over the years. If you guys have any tips and tricks that you wanna share with me and share with all my other subscribers, we are a family here, so please leave anything that you have learned along the way down below. You do not have to be a professional makeup artist. You could be a 14-year-old girl and have something up your sleeve that works for you, and please leave it in the comments because we are all loving makeup, loving beauty, and loving techniques around here on my channel, and we love to learn from each other, so I would really appreciate that. And if you guys did like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, all that jazz. I love you, and I will see you in my next one. Mwah! Bye.